dig, they're going to be around forever. Survivor's doing a not next season, but I think the season after. It could be next season. I'm not sure, but definitely not the one that's starting here in a week. They're doing All Champions, which is what I've been asking for since like season 8, where it's like everybody who's playing has won the game of Survivor before.
I like that.
That's a great, I'm so excited about this. Like, this is something I have been wanting for a long time. I think we're live, by the way, but go ahead. Well, welcome to SiftPop Weekly. We're glad you're here.
Did I ever tell you that I knew one of the contestants on Survivor?
Oh, which one?
Coach.
Oh,
yeah.
I think we didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in my acting class.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't do so well.
No, he wasn't really all that well liked either.
No. He played the game strangely.
Yeah, because I remember
just trying to figure out the way to say that.
I remember the episode that I think it may have been the one he got kicked out on, but it was where everybody gets to have a family member. Family member used to come by.
Yeah, the family visit.
Yeah, and his assistant coach was who came out to see him.
Yeah.
And
everybody else is
like,
weeping about their mom or their brother.
And the assistant coach to his high school was who came out to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Fun times.
He was a nice enough guy.
Yeah.
When I talked to him
every
now and then.
I mean, it seems like, it's a lot of that is editing too, right? They're editing down, like on Survivor, they're editing down 3 days worth of interactions, things that are going on into an hour. Yeah. Right? So you can tell pretty much any story you want. This is the thing that I argue with people about reality television. It's not fake. It's not fixed. It's just edited to tell a story.
Some of it's fake.
No, it really isn't.
No.
Hold on. Reality competition shows are not fake, are fixed.
Sure.
Reality shows like the Kardashians or those where they're kind of like pumping up the drama or creating their own drama, those kind of things. Yeah, I get. But actually, they would be in a lot of trouble if the competition shows actually had, like the fixes in kind of stuff.
I'm going from, people putting on a character for a show. And
Of course. Well, yeah. We're doing that right now, kind of. You know what I mean? Yeah. Everybody's an actor when a camera's on in some way or another, so.
Yeah. But you like talk about shows like Bear Grylls, like Survivor, like that's all fake.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about the Bear Grylls stuff.
Oh, have you not seen those videos?
No.
Like the behind the scene? Have you seen those, Phil? Of the leaked photos behind the scenes of just Bear Grylls has like a giant buffet out
like
in the
a
jungle.
Jacuzzi.
No, I'm not even.
He pulls the Joey and Chandler as soon as he's off screen. Just
when the cameras aren't rolling, I've got to look this up.
Kicks back in his recliner. We've got some comments on the chat, the live chat. Josh says, Aaron, what were your thoughts on the Goldfinch? You can go back and I will tell you here in a second. I'm not saying I'm not going to tell you. Go watch it. But we did talk about the Goldfinch on the last episode or 2 episodes. Yeah, that was last episode. We talked about the Goldfinch a little bit.
We need to rename that video. It just says Hustler's Review.
Yes. Yeah, nice. That's great.
Show the camera.
That's awesome. Yes, show everybody watching.
I'm getting there.
All right.
Yeah, tell me if it's center screen.
So the short of the matter is, Josh, the Goldfinch is awful in almost every way. So that's the short review. But if you wanna watch more on that, the Hustlers review, we talk about that a little bit. Chables, watching the pre-show on my phone instead of watching the trailers before Ad Astra. Nice.
Well, there you go.
Been trying 0 frames lately and loving it. Yeah, I am too. In fact, did you see my tweet? You're not on Twitter anymore. No. I tweeted yesterday that trailers now take longer to watch than an episode of The Office. And I know this because I watched an episode of The Office instead of trailers yesterday.
Really? Wow.
This is one of the most genius ideas I've ever had. Just watch one of your favorite sitcoms instead of watching the trailers. Like, they literally last 25 minutes now. Sitcoms are usually 22 to 23 minutes max.
I was going to talk about this during the actual show, but I'll talk about it now.
Yeah.
I was on my way to Alamo. Alamo has a pretty strict don't arrive late policy.
Yeah.
I got pulled over on my way to...
Oh, no.
I didn't get a ticket. I got a warning. But I was like, man, I'm running 20 minutes late now. I'm not going to be... I got to get a new show. I walked in just as the Bah, 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 bah. You are now entering a quiet zone.
Oh,
Do
that's
not
so
text
great.
or
That's the
arrive
perfect
late.
time. That's the perfect
Yeah.
time. You missed all the trailers. It's beautiful.
I've probably seen them all anyway.
Yeah. And that's the other thing about trailers before a movie in today's day and age. If you're a trailer person like Andrew loves his trailers.
I do.
You've already seen them all. You're going to see them when they pop on YouTube. You're not going to have to wait to see them in front of a movie. Now there is something beautiful about the big screen and that kind of stuff, but you're just seeing a commercial, not an actual movie.
Well, I took my dad to see Rambo yesterday
Yeah.
because that's just the
I think
machismo kind
go
of
ahead.
thing.
Yeah.
And the trailer for Joker popped up, and he's like, "Oh, they're making a Joker movie." So there is a section of society who only sees trailers.
Oh, sure. No,
when they go to
we're the weirdos for sure.
Yeah.
And probably you as well. If you're watching us and you love movies enough to watch a show like this, you're probably one of the weirdos too. But
Yeah.
for most people, I totally understand the impact of trailers and what they have. But if you're a movie lover, I think it's worth at least trying out, seeing something without having seen the trailers, because it is a different experience.
I think they should go back to what they used to do back in the old days, where the trailer would actually premiere in the theater and then the next day it would be on YouTube. You know? Because then you get a whole crowd reaction of ooh, 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 ooh. It becomes like the event is not going to the movie to see the movie, it's going to the movie to see the trailer for the other movie you want to see.
Yeah. Nice little crowd forming. Thank you for hanging out with us. I think we've got like a dozen or so people already hanging out. So
Nice.
We do appreciate that, and to everybody who's watching after the fact, we love you as well. You may have noticed we're calling this SiftPop Weekly now on YouTube, just as a way to make sure people know it's actually a video show, because a lot of times people see podcasts on YouTube and they think, oh, it's just audio with like a picture, for a couple hours, and that's not what we're doing here. We're doing an actual live video show on YouTube.
Audio podcast here.
Well, the podcast. That show is audio. We have to figure out how to navigate both. Before we get into recording the podcast, though, I do love hanging out with the chat. Let's see. Artist Project says, will you guys be doing Abominable or The Laundromat next week? I think I'm leaning Laundromat for sure.
That's on Netflix.
Yeah,
though,
that's
right?
a Netflix release that comes out this week, and it's supposed to be an awards contender. Possibility we'll do Laundromat plus TV awards, because we haven't done our TV awards this year yet, and usually we do that in the fall. So usually we hit that right after towards the end of September. So
And it's coming right after what the Emmys are tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there we go.
So we'll be giving out our TV awards next week for sure, and then we may add a review of Laundromat into that as well. Let's see. Sid says, great photo for the audio listeners, Andrew. I don't know what that means. Great. Oh, see, here's the thing, Sid. We're not to the podcast recording yet. So Andrew can show the video listeners, whatever. She's saying when you held up the picture that the audio listeners aren't going to hear any of this. This is kind of part of the benefit of watching the live show or going to YouTube, because you get all this stuff even afterwards. So yeah, once we start recording the actual audio show, I will certainly lay into Andrew anytime he tries to do something visual. Let's see. Jay Bourgeois says, the problem with that, Andrew, is it would totally be leaked. And that's probably right. That's probably why they do it, and not wait anymore, because, because of leaks and that kind of stuff.
If there's like a 24-hour window, I don't think
the leaks aren't going to matter.
The leaks aren't going to matter.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Even less than a 24-hour window. Like, there's normally for like big movies, there's a 7 p.m. premiere on Thursday. Just have like the trailer drop at 9 p.m. that night.
Yeah. It's funny how that keeps moving back. A lot of them are 4 p.m. now. They're doing a 4 and a 7 on Thursday.
What's the point of even saying it comes out on Friday?
I don't know. It doesn't. It comes
Thursday.
out on Thursday now, and they should just change it. The music industry changed it. They were doing Tuesday album, Tuesday was new music, and they changed it to Friday.
I didn't know that music dropped on specific days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an industry thing, so that suppliers and merchants can, of course, physical media is becoming less of a thing. So I don't know. It's fascinating, but yeah, movies should just say
Thursday,
the date of Thursday. It's not like anybody's paying attention to, the date anyway, because they'll usually just say the date it opens, and they're saying the Friday date instead of the Thursday date, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
But maybe it's the psychology of the weekend. I don't know. Anyways, thank you for joining us on the little pre-show here on YouTube. We're going to do the podcast now. So, Andrew, keep it all audio, buddy. No entertaining the video people.
I'm going to Vanna White it. You know she's in the Guinness Book of World Records?
For what?
The most claps.
It's not the cast of Friends?
No.
I'm just kidding. The most claps? What do you mean?
Because whenever somebody says on Wheel of Fortune, R, and then they do the spin of the wheel, she's always over there clapping. She has the most claps out of anybody in history, apparently.
Wow. That's I don't know how you would even decide that. There's got to be some basketball coach with like a 50-year career that's, clapping his players on to do things that's done more, right?
I think even Krzyzewski's like, he gives them one or two claps.
Oh, it's the rate.
Vanna's like.
I see. It's the rate. That's what broke the record is the rate.
Yeah.
All right, Phil. Amazing producer Phil. Whenever you're ready, we will get into this thing.
All right.
Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that didn't win a trip to space, but hopefully will get a constellation prize. It's SiftPop. Welcome to SiftPop streaming live. Most weekends are available to download later in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks.
Rainbow.
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he's my 5-star and 5-foot-something co-host, Andrew Ormsby.
6 foot.
And each week we'll chat about movies, TV, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. You're exactly 6 feet tall, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it. I was like, we'll just call it 5'11" and, 9/10.
There's that whole thing on Tinder I'm finding out where guys actually have to say that they're 6 foot now, because if you say you're anything below 6 foot, nobody's interested.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those picky girls.
I know. I do a lot of spinal decompression just to make sure I'm never, shrinking or anything.
Yeah,
like
well,
that.
my dad is 6 feet tall. And or it was like when he played basketball and that kind of stuff, but he's now like 5'11",
Yeah.
moving towards 5'10". I mean, it kind of you're right, the spinal compression is kind of thing that happens. I am 6'6", or
You
was.
have no qualms about ever being below 6 foot.
No, I don't think I'm going to shrink below 6 foot, but I think I am down to 6'5". Maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't really measured in a long time, but anyway.
Well, you gotta go to a different bank or a different grocery store, and as you leave, you're like, okay, so this is the bank that says that I'm 6 foot.
Yeah, make sure you rob something so everybody else, is paying attention as well.
Get some Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
Platform shoes.
I apologize for saying 5 foot. I was in a bind. There aren't a lot of 5 words.
No, there aren't.
There's just not a lot.
But thanks for saying I'm 5-star.
You are absolutely 5-star out of 10. All right, no, 5 out of 5. Just so we're clear, you're 5 out of 5. We've got a fun show. We're gonna review a couple movies again this week. That's kind of common for the fall. Because the awards movies are coming out, different things are happening. We've got an awards movie this week, and then a general culture movie this week.
Yeah.
Rambo and Ad Astra.
Yeah.
Kind of going up against each other. So we're going to talk about both of those. Of course, got a buried treasure that we're going to do. We've got a best ever challenge. Went broad. I'm not sure. I couldn't remember us ever doing this before. So we're going to do best ever Brad Pitt movies. He certainly had quite a career, and we're going to talk about some of his movies. So.
Just a little teaser for whenever I make my best ever challenge. I do 1 through 5 for my top 5.
Yeah,
and then I do A through whatever for my honorable mentions. I got all the way down to N for Brad Pitt movies.
I have a total of 24 movies listed, so I've got 19 honorable mentions as well.
Yeah,
and that's not all of them, because there are some that even a lot of people like that I don't have on my list just because I don't like them quite as much.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even... Yeah.
Brad's face on a baby's body. All right, we'll get into that a little bit later. We've got also, of course, our buried treasure, which I think I mentioned in the 2 reviews that we'll do. But we like to kick it off with some Do We Care?
Every single week, I scour the internet to find out what is going on in the entertainment world. I pick 3 topics for us to discuss, and we must decide, do we care or not? Number 1, Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell will make a Christmas Carol musical.
Yeah, I just saw this, I think this morning this popped up in my news feed, and I'm game. Bring it on, man. I love musicals.
I know you do. And I love Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. And the
and
Christmas
together.
Carol. And Christmas
This is
Carol.
like the Reese's peanut butter cup of movies.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
It's like you got your musical in my comedy.
So what do you think is like who's going to be like Scrooge, or do you think Ryan Reynolds is going to be Scrooge?
I have no idea how this is going to work. It's actually the only part of this that I'm not excited about.
The actual Christmas
That
Carol
it's about the
story.
Christmas. I mean,
Yeah.
how many times do we need to see that story done in a different way?
We already have Muppet Christmas Carol, and that's the best one.
And that's all you need is the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Honestly, that's my favorite Christmas movie.
Just do something new. Do something else. Make a new Christmas musical. Do you know how huge that could be? People go watch it year after year after year. Now it just becomes another Christmas Carol adaptation.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, that's the least exciting part of the news is that it's a Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. So, but as far as who's Scrooge, I would imagine Ryan Reynolds is going to be a very sarcastic Scrooge.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
That would be my guess.
Yep. But yeah, I'm excited to see Will Ferrell back in another Christmas movie. Elf was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And was Ryan Reynolds ever in a Christmas movie? Probably.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Deadpool.
No, that's a Valentine's Day movie.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Number 2, I just put down the 2019 Emmys to see if you had any predictions.
I don't. Again, there's such a fracturing in the media space. There's so many TV shows. I think it could be fascinating. I guess I will make a prediction that Chernobyl is going to clean up in the
Every single thing it's nominated for.
well, yeah, and all the short series, limited series, whatever that category is.
Yeah.
Chernobyl's going to clean up.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have a ton of predictions.
Here's the big one, though. Do you think, because a lot of people are saying they think Game of Thrones is going to win. I don't think it
People
will.
like to do that. I mean, the final season, people like to award things. I don't know. I would love to see some of that final season magic given to Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, Veep.
In Veep.
Isn't that comedy, though?
Yes. No. I'm not saying instead of Game of Thrones.
Oh.
I'm just saying if there's gonna be something that benefits from that, I hope it's her because she is possibly maybe not even possibly, maybe it's just considered that it's a fact that she's the best comedic actress ever on television. Like the stuff that she's done. I mean, you've got Mary Tyler Moore in that conversation, but
Lucille Ball.
yeah, but Lucy had Lucy and pretty much just Lucy. I mean, Julia Louis-Dreyfus has done it several times.
I could
It
see,
continues to be incredible.
Yeah, her, Amy Poehler are up there, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I would
yeah.
love to see her win another Emmy. How many has she won already
Not enough.
for Best Actress in a Comedy? I think she holds the record. She's basically the Meryl Streep of
Emmys.
the Emmys. So I'd love to see her win one more.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I would definitely, I'm right there with you, though. I want Chernobyl to win every single thing it can.
Yeah.
Because,
Should be great.
Yeah. And number 3, this one's crazy. Allegedly, because the numbers haven't been released yet, allegedly, Netflix paid $500 million for the streaming rights to Seinfeld.
Woo!
And Warner Media paid $1 billion for the streaming rights to Big Bang Theory.
Wow. Who owns the streaming rights to Big Bang Theory?
Warner now.
Well, no, but who did? Like,
It's NBC, wasn't it?
is it NBC?
Yeah.
See, this is what's fascinating to me. I think these numbers are huge, and also possibly not enough. This is insane to say, and I get it, but the streaming wars are the defining thing as to what media companies will succeed in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where if I were NBC and they're going to launch this Peacock that they've talked about, which you didn't have in Do We Care, so we can just throw it in here.
I thought we talked about it last week.
Did we talk about it? I thought the announcement came out this week. But either way, I'll just mention it here.
Oh, Big Bang is CBS.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you keep those for yourself? And I thought of this the same when who Netflix bought who? Seinfeld. I thought about NBC, just like if you're going to launch the Peacock and you've been willing to take The Office off of Netflix and not take their money for that, why are you taking their money for Seinfeld when that could be another thing, and why is Friends on HBO Max? Like it confuses me what's happening here. And I just think if you are a media company, your library is possibly the most crucial thing to you right now, and I don't understand why you would sell it out. Now, I don't know that I've seen how long these contracts are for.
Yeah,
so
that's another thing.
That's important information, right? Because
5-year values estimated for the biggest deals.
so
I believe all 4 of those are 5 years.
So the graphic that I'm seeing says 5-year values.
Audio podcast, Aaron.
That's why I said that I'm seeing in describing it. The 5-year values are the biggest deals to date. So the 5-year value is $1 billion, according to this. So
it ranges from 600 million to $1 billion for Big Bang Theory.
yeah,
I mean, the obvious math would be that like CBS All Access is going to say that we would have never made 200 million per year. Anyways, and so this is a better deal for us or whatever, but I don't know, like,
but on the long game,
yeah,
that's your strength is keeping that stuff for your service. And maybe they're thinking this is fine, have it for 5 years,
right, and then we're gonna take it back.
We'll take it back because that's when the long game really kicks in. But I don't know. It's good, man. I'm telling you, I've rarely been as fascinated by anything as much as I am by the streaming wars. I think it's going to be truly fascinating.
Our generation of the Cola Wars.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's crazy to think. Here's my issue: NBC launching Peacock, CBS All Access. They have to know that they're not going to win.
Well, NBC again. I said this when we talked about the streaming wars several weeks back. NBC's strength is their library because that's universal. Yeah. So the movie part of that equation of the Peacock is going to be a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
So, and the same for Warner, actually. Yeah. That's going to be a very interesting part of their library. But I think people have room for 4, maybe 5. And after that, people start to get really annoyed.
I'm not getting Apple's, even though it's $4.99. There's not enough there.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I might get it for a month, watch the 2 movies that they have, and then I'll cancel it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. But again, I may be the weird one. I don't know that this is crazy. I think this might actually be legitimate business purchases.
Yeah.
Especially if you're Netflix and you don't have your own library. Like, you got to have something.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it'll be interesting.
That is going to wrap it up for Do We Care?
Very nice. Well, let's get into some movie reviews.
Okay.
Let's talk about Ad Astra.
What is happening out there is a crisis of unknown magnitude.
We believe your father may be involved.
My father's dead. What exactly are you requiring from me?
Exploration isn't always a noble venture. We have to hold out the possibility that your father may be hiding from us.
A man journeys across a lawless solar system to find his missing father, a renegade scientist who poses a threat to humanity. Or does he? Gung, gung, gung. I'm just kidding. This is a Brad Pitt movie through and through, right? Like, it's.
Is it?
I mean, every single scene is from his perspective.
Oh, I thought you meant like it feels like it is a.
Oh, no. I just mean this is kind of one of those movies where you walk out going, "Oh, we were in Brad Pitt's face for 100% of this movie." Which, if you're gonna be in somebody's face, Brad Pitt's not a bad face to be in.
It's a good face.
It's a good face.
He has a gorgeous face. You can tell that even from the trailer. I think he's in like 80% of the frames in that trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. So, did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay?
I hated it.
Ooh!
Oh!
That's going to be interesting.
I hated it.
Oh, man. I can't wait for you to tell me why. I really only have one minor negative that I can see people having with this movie. And it wasn't a negative for me. I loved this movie. To be fair, on the low side, I loved it. So but yeah, let's go dinosaur it. Tell me. Should I start or should you?
You start.
So always start with the love.
Okay, I can throw out like my one pro for this movie. It is gorgeous.
It really is.
It's like a very Kubrick because There's like really, and also very Villeneuve with the way they work with colors and stuff like that. There's this one particular scene where they're going down this hallway and there's just red light, illuminating through the pillars and stuff, and the way that the light moves with them. It was gorgeous. The whole movie's like that.
James Gray, who directed this movie, he's a very visual artist. He loves
City of Z.
Yeah, he loves to do beautiful visuals, and I think that is on display here. The visuals are not only really beautiful to look at, they're evocative. There's an emotional energy to the visuals here that I find fascinating. So yes, you are absolutely 100% right. That is definitely one of my positives as well. One of my main positives actually is how gorgeous this movie is to look at, and
all right, everything else
is awful, according to Andrew. Here's all the other things I loved. I think Brad Pitt has had his 2 best performances in the same year. I think he's as incredible here as he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And there's some close-up work here that I've never seen from Brad Pitt. I've never seen him do... There's a scene involving a microphone, I'll just say. And my wife and I both walked out of the movie theater just like blown away by that scene and the performance in that scene. And a lot of it had to do with his performance. A lot of it, again, because performances don't happen in a vacuum. A lot of it had to do with the way it was edited. A lot of it had to do with the camera angles and the distance from his face and what it caught. The camera is able to capture some interesting facial things that are happening with him in that scene and a couple others that I think really emphasize his performance. So that was one of my major positives. Sounds like it was a negative for you. So you can either talk about that now or we can save it. Up to you.
This is just going to encompass everything for me, but it's a part of it.
Okay.
Performances. This movie is such a drag.
Okay.
Like, it is so slowly paced, and I think that a lot of that has to do with just how emotionless I feel a lot of these performances are. Nothing was evoked from any of the performances, even Brad Pitt, where I was like, oh man, I just want to live in this moment with this character. I want to know more about. I didn't care about anybody.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't disagree more.
I know, yeah.
But I
wish I saw your
apologize
movie,
for that
man.
experience.
Oh man, your movie sounds great.
Yeah, I wish you had seen my movie too.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's hard for me to understand because again, the movie I saw, I felt to its core.
Yeah.
Now, the one negative that I was going to say, the one thing that I can see people having a problem with this movie is the pacing. Yeah. I can see if you don't, again, sink into, and we kind of had a very similar discussion with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too, where you really felt the length of that movie.
Oh God, yeah.
And I did not. And I think we're having the same response here. And maybe for me, maybe I'm ready to relax into movies more these days. Maybe I'm kind of done with the aesthetic of bang, 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 get to the next. Like, I'm ready to live with these characters and experience their lives a little bit more. And because of that, what's interesting is I had the exact opposite reaction. I feel like the space we're given, literally, with these characters allows us to feel their emotion even more. And to feel, especially with the Brad Pitt character, which again is pretty much this whole movie.
Yeah.
To especially feel with the Brad Pitt character what he is doing with his emotions. In other words, for a lot of this movie, he is shut off from his emotions. And then when he is allowed to experience those emotions, it becomes really dynamic, I felt.
I will give the movie this. A lot of movies, whenever they deal with space or anything, it's always action-packed. But in reality, space travel, and even like being an astronaut in general, is incredibly boring. And I mean that from a sense of the extremes that we see from the Hollywood movies, like even in Gravity or, even Apollo 13, which, yes, it's based on a true story, but they're always about a suspenseful event. Mm-hmm. Space travel in itself, over incredible distances like this, will be boring.
Monotony.
Yes.
Pure monotony. And not only that, not only as far as like time-wise, but also as far as spatially, the aloneness, the vulnerability, and this will get to another positive. I'll just go ahead and transition to what may be my main positive from this movie. This movie it uses the aloneness of space to build this beautiful metaphor about relationships and about the idea of being separated from people. I made a joke on Twitter recently that, welcome to your annual now space movie that's a metaphor for parenting issues, because it seems like it happens every single year. But in this case, there's not just interesting father-son stuff happening here, which is something I think a lot of us can relate to, but there's also an interesting religious angle to this. The movie really uses religious imagery and religious just spoken word. Many of these scenes feel like prayers. In fact, there's narration at the end that is pretty much the Lord's Prayer, but from a humanist point of view. And there's a fascinating thing that's going on here that I think, when you start to apply the metaphor of Heavenly Father to a lot of what's going on here, and I think there's somebody saying, it felt to me, whether it's in the writing, the directing, the whole piece, that there's something being said here about feeling distant from God and feeling, is there a God or is there no God, or what are God's motives, or what are, just kind of this idea of exploring that. And I don't want to spoil some of the moments that happen toward the end of this movie, but there are direct things that are said that I have literally heard former Christians who are now atheists say about their experience in letting go of God. And there are things that happen in this movie if you start to see, again, the father character as a God character and Brad Pitt's character as man. That kind of play into some of that stuff. That kind of stuff is always, this about me, that kind of stuff is always going to thrill me. I love thinking deeper about movies. And so anytime I can read a pretty potent metaphor like I do here, I'm going to have a more positive reaction.
I didn't pick up on the religious metaphors, but now that you've talked about them, I definitely can see them. But I think that full front of this movie is a literal father-son,
absolutely 100%.
Metaphor. And honestly, I'm gonna have to wait for spoilers, but that metaphor definitely fell short for me, and I really am excited to tell you why I have so many problems with that aspect of the movie. And that's so the problem, is that is literally the movie. Is all based on that. So if I have an issue with the way that it's being presented, then the entire movie's going to fall short for me.
All right, let's disagree on one more thing here.
Okay.
Well, maybe not disagree. Maybe it's just not something that matters as much to you as it does to me. I love it when a movie presents me with a future that feels authentic and real. And I felt like the world building of what the future was in this movie was fascinating to me. The way space travel worked, the commercialization of space travel, all the little nuance of what that would be like. What is Virgin Atlantic to the moon look like? What is, those kind of things. I really dug.
The commercialization aspect of it, I definitely was all in on. I thought, it reminded me of Her in the sense that I was this part of it is definitely...
It feels real.
Yeah. But there were other elements of this movie that I felt really didn't mesh well with that, because I'm like, half of the, near future predictions were so real, and then the other half was really ridiculous for me, that it kind of tarnished what I loved. Is there a way
non-spoilery you could say, what, like one that you were like, that's ridiculous, come on?
The way there was a real quick criminal chase, I guess I'll say, that I felt was ridiculous. And then there was also a scene that I absolutely hated that dealt with checking out an SOS.
Okay. I'm not sure I'm following the second one, but that's okay.
Where they have to go and check out like a distress call.
Oh, interesting.
Loathe that scene. That whole
really
section. Yeah.
It's fascinating, Andrew.
Here's
That's
the thing.
fascinating.
Here's
I'm
the
so sorry you had a bad
This-
experience with this movie, man.
This movie treats you like Brad Pitt character in the sense that he is on a need-to-know basis about his mission.
Sure.
Therefore, a lot of the information that is hidden from him is hidden from us. And I understand that from a specific storytelling point, but at the same time, you have to keep me immersed within what's going on. You have to make me want to figure out these answers. You have to have me, I want to know what Brad Pitt's father does. I want to know what, is going on with, this type of this. But for the most part, I was sitting there going, okay, so that's that, and that's that, and that's that. I wasn't going into this like, oh, what will this be?
Did you like there are probably I'm gonna say 3, maybe 2 actiony kind of set pieces that were in this movie, or did you find them annoying? Well, I only mention it because of this. They, to me, are handled really well in that it does give the movie a jolt of energy when it needs it. Like it's kind of like how roller coasters, you'll get to a hill and it's like, okay, we got another hill, and then you go through some stuff and it's like, oh, it's a hill. Like it kind of felt like it knew when we needed another push forward.
Those were few far between, but I wasn't going into this looking for an action movie.
No,
I want to be clear
it's
about
definitely
that.
not an action movie.
No, it is the farthest thing from an action movie.
It's an inaction movie.
Yeah.
For me, in all the best ways. For Andrew, not so much.
What I could say about one of the final action scenes, it felt so slapstick in a sense that everything happening was accidental, which I'm going to have to wait till spoilers to get into more details in case you don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
To where I was like, really? So that happened because that accidentally did that, and it felt very slapstickish to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not have that feeling.
Okay.
But we could have some fun talking spoilers.
Oh, here's another pro/negative. I understand and I appreciate what they were going for, but I didn't like it. There's the movie is open-ended at the end of, what you want to believe is, real and not and stuff like that, I appreciate the attempt. It didn't work for me.
Okay. Open-ended. I would not call this movie open-ended, really.
For interpretation on a specific... I'll have to, we'll wait for
spoilers. You're talking about a specific thing.
Yeah.
That
it might possibly be real or not,
Oh.
So.
I wondered if this movie would do that. I never felt like it did. So I'm curious to hear which part you're talking about in that respect.
Yeah.
Anything else about Ad Astra? We don't need to
no post-credit scene
to get to fisticuffs or anything. But
I really wanted to like this movie. I was so stoked for this movie.
Yeah.
I know.
I had a great time.
I'm glad.
It is one of my favorite movies of the year for sure. It will be. It's interesting. I think Brad Pitt's going to win an Oscar this year. You don't
know what movie, though?
I'm not 100% sure which movie for.
It should be for Once Upon a Time
I think
in
it will be. I think it will be Best Supporting Actor in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I think they're going to push him in supporting.
I have it at 6th from the bottom of my list.
Oh,
of movies.
wow. You really did not like this.
No, at all.
There's this is about I don't get mad when you don't like a movie, but if you were to start reading some movies you have ranked higher than this, I might start to get mad.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, come on, man, come on. But
yeah, you probably
Tell
would.
us.
No, we don't need to go there. We don't need to go there. So, big recommend from me, a non-recommend, a recommend you stay home from Andrew.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't recommend this movie.
Right.
I can't do it.
Yeah. I saw it in IMAX. I don't know if that matters.
I bet the visuals were just that much more incredible.
Yeah.
I just want to know if 7th from the bottom is Men in Black.
Don't. Why do you have to play like this?
Men in Black is the 2nd from the bottom.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right.
Phew.
You redeemed yourself.
Dumbo is the very, very last.
You just look at you over there trolling. Producer Phil over there trolling, trying to get me mad.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Ad Astra, and you can go make up your own mind, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. We've got a second movie to review, Andrew.
Yeah, we do.
Ready for this? Let's talk about Rambo Last Blood.
I'm lived in a world of death. I've watched people I've loved die. Some fast with a bullet. Some not enough left to bury.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more.
All these years I've kept my secrets. But the time has come to face my past.
When a friend's daughter is kidnapped, Rambo crosses the U.S.-Mexico border to bring her home, but finds himself up against one of Mexico's most ruthless cartels. This is Rambo Last Blood. We talked before coming in to record this and said that we're not going to worry about spoiling anything in this movie,
It's a Rambo movie.
because it was spoiled at the moment Rambo was on the screen is basically what I said. So I will say, if you're going to watch this movie and you think that there are things about this movie you don't want to know, you may want to fast forward a little bit through this, because I'm really not going to worry about it. I am going to say things that happen in the movie that in a typical movie would be considered spoilers, because I do think they're important to the conversation, but it's a Rambo movie, and I think you kind of know where this is going.
Yeah.
I heard somebody recently say it's taken for the first half and Home Alone for the second half, and I feel like...
Was that Jeremy Johns who said that?
I don't know.
Think it actually was.
I don't know. It may have been somebody copying what he said, and that is true. It may have been several people who said it, because it is absolutely 100% true. About this movie. Other than the Taken part, actually. I mean, it kind of is, but it isn't really. I said it's taken in like the darkest timeline.
Oh yeah.
You know, because and this will be the first thing I will spoil, but it's not just a kidnapping. This movie is super dark in that first half, where this girl that is just this complete innocent, lovely girl goes to Mexico to find her father, her father that she's never met,
Who is a horrible person.
who stands in okay, so there's this moment. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm just going to spoil it all. I'm just going to do it.
First of
I'm
all,
just going to do it.
Like it, love it,
Oh,
hate
thank
it.
you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for getting us back on track. I am firmly in the I don't even know what I think camp about this movie. No, I will say I'm going to just say didn't like it. But I have to say high-sided didn't like it because, and I say it for this, if you want to go see a Rambo movie,
You know what you're getting into.
you know what you're getting into. You're going to go see a Rambo movie. Now, that doesn't appeal to me necessarily, but this movie, and I give movies props for this, and so this is why it's high-sided didn't like it. This movie knows exactly what movie it is.
Yeah.
It is 100% confident in the movie that it is. It's just a movie that I'm not excited to take part in.
Sure.
so that's kind of it. And thank you for getting us there. What about you, Andrew?
Oh, I hated it.
Okay, fair enough. Good.
I hated it more than Ad Astra.
Nice.
But,
It's
okay,
like your
but
third
you're-
worst of the year?
It's third worst actually. But here's the thing. I'm right there with you. I appreciate a movie that knows what it wants to be and it succeeds at that. However, whenever I look at the Rambo, First Blood franchise as a whole, this is easily the worst one.
Yeah.
The Rambo movie before this, where they were in Burma, I actually thought was a pretty decent action
I don't
movie.
like any of the Rambo movies.
Not even First Blood?
This is not even First Blood.
I love
I
First Blood.
I can see why people like First Blood. It just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah. I think First Blood is a masterpiece of a
Sure.
movie. And
You're not alone in that, by the way. A lot of people
yeah.
love First Blood.
yeah. But it's sad seeing where First Blood was about and like what that movie was trying to say about, being a vet of the Vietnam War and stuff like that. And then to see where the franchise actually ended up is kind of disheartening because it kind of tarnishes everything that first movie was about.
Can I get back to the scene I was in?
Sure,
I was
yeah.
just getting so excited about telling you about this poor girl. So she goes down to Mexico to find her father that she's never seen. Of course, Rambo's like, don't go. He's never been meant anything to you. Of course, he lives in the worst part of town, and her friend, quote unquote friend, brings her down there. And so she goes down there, finds him, knocks on the door, They have a pleasant conversation.
And then out
for
of
about
nowhere.
20 seconds, he's smiling. He seems likable.
Yeah.
And she says something, I don't even know what she says.
Why did you leave?
Yeah, something about why did you leave or something like that. And immediately he starts twirling his mustache. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't even have a mustache, but he's
Snidely
twirling
whiplash,
it.
yeah.
He takes 3 steps towards her so that they're nose to nose. And he says things like, I didn't care about you a bit. I didn't care about you and your mom. I hate you. Why are you... Like, I'm just
Yeah.
like, the worst possible things this
Yeah.
girl could ever hear.
And
You know,
then
you
she
thought
had to go and
Shazam
get-
was hard when Shazam heard from his mom.
yeah.
This is like that times a million.
Yeah.
And so she gets this devastating news. So she goes back to, go home. And her friend's like, no, don't go home. Why? Because her friend wants to sell her as a sex slave.
Yeah.
So her friend takes her to a club to introduce her to men who will then kidnap her and put her in slavery to get her hooked on drugs and sell her body to whoever wants to buy it. This is what this girl has gone through in the first 30 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
Rambo, of course, goes down, tries to save her, and gets her out of there, but she dies in the car
Yeah.
on the way home. Rambo, are there no hospitals in Mexico?
Or CPR.
Or anything? You're just going to drive?
yeah.
This child that's dying. This movie, man. Like
Yeah.
that is one thing. And again, the reason I don't mind spoiling it is just because I think you got to know if you're going into a Rambo movie, the vengeance is going to come from a dark place, and it's
Yeah.
the way that these movies. Justify is probably too strong of a word, but it's the way that they justify the Home Alone part of the movie, which is just pure,
Carnage.
unadulterated carnage retribution, and that's what Rambo is.
Yeah.
So anyways, Andrew, you talk for a little bit. I've said my piece.
So, if you saw the last Rambo movie, like I said, where he went to Burma, it was easily a in as far as torture, graphic violence than all the other Rambos. All the Rambo movies, he just shot people with an arrow and they just fell down, old spaghetti western style, like,
Right, yeah.
And then in Burma, he was like blowing people away with a giant 50 cal, like
Right,
people's heads were
right.
exploding. This movie goes full torture porn.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he's ripping a guy's collarbone out of his...
Yes. Yes.
He grabs the collarbone and slowly just rips it out of his
Yeah, he
shoulder.
breaks it. He pierces his fingers
Yeah.
through the guy's neck skin.
Yeah.
And then grabs the collarbone, snaps it, and then just starts bending it back to torture the
marrow
guy.
starts leaking out. It was very, very graphic.
If that description grossed you out just now, don't go see this.
Oh, because that's the most tame part of as far as graphic
Oh,
violence.
it's all. I mean, it's all like that. You know, that is interesting. You said torture porn. I was like, is it torture porn? That scene definitely. That is kind of that thing. The Home Alone part of the movie where it's it's this group of I'm going to say 100.
Even though they only had 8 cars.
Yeah, even though they only had 8 cars. There's like 100 of this cartel that comes to get him at his base that he has fortified in the tunnels.
Which, that's
And-
very convenient.
And those kills aren't really torture porn. They're just, again,
Gory.
Home Alone style. They're very gory, but it's immediate. He's not torturing anybody. He's,
Yeah.
as soon as a booby trap, impales them, he's blowing their heads off.
Oh, yeah.
So, which I found hilarious that he's double, triple killing people.
Yeah, that was the funniest part. People are clearly dead. People are clearly dead by these traps.
Yes.
And he still has to go up and
Just
blow
for
their head
example,
off.
just in a basic a fall trap, he's got
Yeah.
metal spikes down below. These guys fall and they're impaled by 4 or 5 different spikes all the way through the core of their body
and through their heads
and through
stuff.
their heads, and he still blows their head off with a machine, or not a machine gun, but a
Shotgun.
rifle. Yeah. So it's that kind of ridiculousness, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, man, just the time on every one of those, the timing that you knew exactly when somebody was going to do that booby trap, so you could finish the job.
And then he filled up a shotgun shell with magnesium.
The incendiary
And
shells.
he shot those 2 dudes with that bluish hellfire, and they melted. That was just the craziest stuff, man. And yeah, like you said, it's very Home Alone. If Home Alone
Was realistic?
dealt with actual physics,
Yeah.
because it's ridiculous.
It is
but it wants to
super
be
silly.
ridiculous.
I think so. I think it's exactly the movie it wants to be.
Yeah.
Pins him up to the wall with 4 arrows.
Oh my gosh!
And literally
now that's torture porn.
Literally pulls his beating heart out of his chest.
Yeah.
So.
Like not Indiana Jones style, where it's just all of a sudden there's a heart in his hand. No, it's full on carving out his ribs, opening him up, grabbing his heart, and then pulling it out and showing it to him. He was not alive like in Temple of Doom.
No. Rambo killed that man.
Yes, he did. He killed all the men.
He killed that man good.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's pretty much the whole movie. Now you know
that is literally the movie.
Yeah. There's really nothing else to it. I guess we're supposed to feel a little bad for the mom who lost her daughter, but we barely spend any time.
Mom.
Or yeah,
that
it was an
aunt.
Yeah, the aunt who lost her daughter or her niece, but that wasn't even really addressed.
Here's
very
the thing.
much.
The movie does, it shows him having, Vietnam flashbacks and stuff like that. I thought that was going to be a more integral part of the story, he's, getting up there in age, so now he's having a more difficult time keeping a grasp on reality and stuff like that. That could have been a very interesting, story arc for this movie, but no, the movie just tries to do this plain, simple, gory action movie, and it's
just a revenge movie.
Yeah, it's all it is.
It's a revenge gore movie. It's fascinating. I think this is some ways maybe a horror movie. Is it a horror movie? I don't know.
No, it's more along the lines of Hostel.
Yeah.
When it's just torture porn.
I don't know. I was surprised at the restraint of the movie in one way. Or maybe this was just too clever for the movie. At the very beginning, Rambo has made a letter opener for this girl, and she's like, "Come on, nobody mails things anymore."
Yeah.
I was very surprised that he didn't cut out the guy's heart with the letter opener.
Well, he cut the guy's head off with the letter opener.
What?
Remember his brother, the two cartel brothers, right?
Uh-huh.
He had the picture of her, stabbed through the headless dude with that letter opener. So I guess we're led to believe that he cut his head off with that letter opener.
Well, the movie didn't have any restraint. No restraint whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, there's that scene.
I totally missed that though.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed that.
There's that scene where he's getting the crap kicked out of him,
Yeah.
And he immediately went to round 9 of the first Rocky movie face, There's the cut me Mick, that one.
Well, and then there was the journalist that patched him up.
She was in the movie.
That meant nothing to anything but to patch him up.
Yeah, really.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a movie.
Rambo Last Blood. Do you think it will be the last Rambo movie?
Yeah. He's 73, 74 years old now.
Yeah.
And it's called Last Blood because I think this is his farewell. It's sad that he didn't go out on the last Rambo movie, which I actually enjoyed. I thought that was a fun movie. This one's no. No, it's not.
Not so much fun. Well, there you go. Thoughts on Rambo Last Blood just for you. Before we head on to the Best Ever Challenge, huge thank you to our SiftPop members. You are the best. You have allowed us this year to do some pretty incredible stuff with your membership. Because of your membership that starts at $3 a month, we have turned this podcast that you are listening to into an actual video show on YouTube that you can go check out. We had some fun, actually. It's interesting because we'll chat with the people on YouTube before we actually start recording the audio for the show. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of a fun part of it. So all that stays in the video file. So if you want to go subscribe to SiftPop on YouTube, that's awesome. But we're only able to do that because of the support, the equipment, having producer Phil in here, having all this stuff, the lighting, all that kind of stuff has only happened because of your incredible support. So thank you so much for going to patreon.com/SiftPop and becoming part of the SiftPop community. Lots of fun perks there as well that you can check out. So we do appreciate that very, very much. Again, it's patreon.com/SiftPop. All right. Let's move on to our best ever challenge. We're doing Brad Pitt movies, Andrew.
We're gonna list them all pretty much.
Not all of them. I don't like every single Brad Pitt movie. Let's go number 5 to number 1.
Okay.
What do you got at your number 5?
Snatch.
Okay. It was in my honorable mentions.
Yeah. I think this is his most fun character that he's done. Besides, I forget the name of his character from Burn After Reading, but I think that I think it's Mickey is the character's name in Snatch. I think this is the most fun he's ever had doing a character, and that really comes across on screen. You know, you just fall in love with this this Irish gypsy, you know, who you can't understand a word he's saying. He's you're like, what did he say? That's the whole joke of the movie is nobody understands what Brad Pitt's saying in it. But this movie's just so. It's what's the guy's name? Guy Ritchie. You know, it's a like pure Guy Ritchie. It's right after Lock, Stock. He did this movie, and I think I read somewhere Brad Pitt did this movie for free. Because he loved Lock, Stock so much.
Yeah, I've heard
he
that
said,
too.
I'll do your next movie for free. Just let me be in it. And now this movie's great.
I'll just say this right now. Any director that's listening, I'll do your next movie for free too, just because I love everything you've done. So just let me know. Give me a call.
Exactly.
It is funny how that turns into something good when you're actually a well-known actor, but if you've never been in anything, it's like, well,
desperate.
It's right. Yeah, of course you do it for free. Producer Phil, I have rearranged my top 5, so thank you for your patience with me. I'm going to go with 12 Monkeys at number 5.
Honorable mentions?
So what? Honorable mentions?
For me.
It's in your honorable mentions.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not doing honorable mentions. I got 12 Monkeys in my top 5. I just said that. This should be an indication as to how many Brad Pitt movies I really love, because I love 12 Monkeys. It is one of my favorite movies. It is the movie I go to talk about time travel done right. It is fascinating, brilliant performances. I heard somebody call Brad Pitt's performance in this overacting, and I'm like, I think it's really good acting.
It's
I think
his first Oscar nomination.
He's willing to be, a little bit strange here. So yeah, I enjoy 12 Monkeys very much. So I had it at number 5.
No, I'm right there. I get it, man. It's good.
What's your number 4?
Inglourious Bastards.
I have it at number 3, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, you have it at number 3, so.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
One of the best openings in movie history. We've talked about before.
So tense.
Again, Brad Pitt, one of his greatest performances.
Yeah.
I love the way he embodies this character physically. I love the way he embodies this character verbally, sonically. The way he sounds in this part
Arrivederci
is just amazing. And this movie to me is the type of Tarantino I can get into, which is kind of the type of Tarantino he has decided to become in his later years, where it's much more kind of time revenge. In this way to take his predilection for gore and revenge and turn it into correcting the wrongs of time.
I'm trying to remember. Is this his first linear movie?
I would not be able to tell you that.
I think it is. I think this is his first movie that's told linearly. Because all of his movies, he was known as the guy who created, the jumping forward and back in time and stuff.
Even though he didn't. But
well, that's what his coining was.
Right, yeah.
But no, the movie's incredible. Performances all around. It's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
So my number 4?
Yes.
You'll probably trump me on this. I have Fight Club at number 4.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. What's your number 3?
It's got 7.
What's that?
7.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's crazy. My number 3 is 7.
I was like, we don't even do top 7, Andrew.
No, we used to do top 10, I thought.
Yeah, did we?
I think we did.
We did there for a second, didn't we?
Yeah.
That's
I think
funny.
we gave up on it.
Well, no, I think it was just a psychological thing where we did 5 for so long that one week I forgot that we had gone to 10, and then we've just been back at 5 forever.
And I fell
Nobody called us on it.
I fell right back into it.
By the way, somebody told me what the bet was.
What was it?
Do you want to know?
Yes.
I've already forgotten. No, it was something. What was it? Oh, Tag. you thought Tag would make more money than Mission Impossible Fallout. That's what it was. And I said, there's no possible way Tag is going to make more money than Mission Impossible Fallout.
It did not.
No, it did not.
Nothing made.
So thank you for that steak dinner last week. And thank you for, there were a couple people actually that remembered that. So,
good.
So we appreciate that.
Let you know how bad our memories are.
But yeah, if we ever just randomly go backwards, into doing something, feel free to let us know.
Yeah.
We can do 10. We certainly could have done 10 on this one.
Absolutely.
And I think we went to 10 because the website does 10. So at SiftPop.com, when you go to the Best Ever Challenge there, the SiftPop.com writers, who are doing incredible work, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I love the stuff they're doing. They do a top 10 with some honorable mentions, that kind of stuff. So you can go check out their Brad Pitt movies at SiftPop.com as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and do 5 this week, and maybe we'll move it back to 10. Maybe we'll kind of go back and forth depending on the category.
Yeah, some of them you can't think of 10.
Yeah, but this one definitely. We could have done top 20 probably for this one.
Easily, yeah. But talking about 7, this is really just a fascinating, David Fincher crime drama. Morgan Freeman's, chewing up scenery. Even Kevin Spacey for the limited amount of time he's actually on screen. And the ending of this movie is so mocked and, mimicked now, and
What's in the box?
What's in the box? Exactly,
What's in the box?
But if you think about it, the ending of this movie is insane.
Yeah.
And, it kind of gets thrown up there with the Usual Suspects ending, the Kaiser Soze ending, of like craziest endings, in movie history. It's a trope now, but back in the day when this first came out,
it's a meme, man.
It was insane. I love this movie.
I had definitely had it in my honorable mentions.
It's a rough movie to get through because nothing happy in this movie.
No, nothing good.
Yeah, so that's my number 3.
Nothing good. That would have been in my top 10 if we had done 10. But,
nice.
But no, it's on honorable mentions. My number 3 we talked about, Inglourious Bastards. So I guess we'll go to your number 2.
Your number 2.
My number 2? I thought you were going first.
True Romance.
Nice. Good choice. Definitely in my honorable mentions. Probably somewhere around number 12 for me.
Really? Yeah. Brad Pitt's in this movie for what? 2 scenes?
Yeah.
2-3 scenes?
Yeah. 2-3 seconds.
2-3 seconds of 2-3 scenes, yeah. This movie has one of the most stacked, cast and crew listings ever.
It's high on my revisit list. I haven't revisited True Romance in a long time. And when I watched it last time, I was much more distracted by things like, language and violence, based on my upbringing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to rewatch it again and give it more of a fair shake with my current eyes.
Oh, yeah. It's a top 100 movie for me.
Yeah.
Just listen to this cast just to get you, excited for it if you've never heard of this movie, because I don't think a lot of people have seen this movie. So you got Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer, Gary Oldman, Brad Pitt, Christopher Walken, Sam Jackson, James Gandolfini, Tom Sizemore, and then it's directed by Tony Scott, and it's written by Quentin Tarantino.
Wow.
I mean, that's literally everybody amazing in Hollywood is in this movie.
Right.
The story is incredible. It feels so much like a Tarantino movie. It feels like he directed it because it just has that ridiculous factor to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has that beautiful stylization that Tony Scott, can brought to all of his movies. So, no, I love True Romance. I was surprised by how much I loved it.
Very nice. My number 2 is Moneyball.
Yep.
Moneyball is, man, that movie, every time I watch it, it gets better.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a great performance, but it almost feels basic in some ways. But it's just because it's so relaxed and believable.
Genuine.
It's genuine, yeah. It feels right, and I really dig Moneyball.
I think Jonah Hill is actually the one that steals that movie.
Yeah.
I love he keeps pointing at Jonah Hill. He gets on base. Yeah, that's why we want him, because he gets on base. The scene with Chris Pratt, when it was Brad Pitt, Chris Pratt, and I forget the actor's name, but they're trying to convince him to play first base.
Yeah.
And he's not a first base player.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest scenes of that whole movie, just because they came up with this weird algorithm. And you know me, I don't like baseball, but I love baseball movies because they find a way to make it interesting somehow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Moneyball is definitely one of the best baseball movies.
Yeah, I dig it. It's my number 2.
Yeah.
What's your number 1?
Well, you kind of know what it is now.
It's Fight
'cause
Club.
It's Fight Club. Yeah. Where is my mind? Crazy movie. It's one of those movies I think we've talked about before where no matter how old this movie gets, you never want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Amazing performances, amazing premise, very unique, original movie.
I saw this movie several years after it was released and had no clue about anything. And it got me good.
Yeah.
Like, it nailed me.
It's one of those movies where after you see it for the first time, if you don't
It's a
know
repeater.
anything about it, you want to see it again.
It's a
immediately.
repeater.
Yeah. And even now, whenever I watch it, by the way, this is a top 10 movie of all time for me. I think it's top 5 actually. But no matter how many times I watch it now, I'm still picking up on stuff.
Yeah.
You notice one little extra thing, or
It's really well done.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it's fascinating.
yeah. So your number 1 would be
Do you want to guess?
yeah. Let's go. I was actually surprised it wasn't 12 Monkeys, but I'm gonna go with Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not 12, it's 11.
Yeah.
This movie's pure joy for me.
Yeah.
I continue to watch it. I watched it with my children recently. It's just, I just love every second of this movie. I could watch it over and over and over and over again.
It might be 6 or 7 on my top 10
Yeah.
list.
I don't know that has to be true for everybody. I just find Clooney and Pitt in this movie so charismatic.
Yeah.
I just want to spend my life with them. I just want to
Yeah.
hang out with them.
You're Matt Damon in this movie.
Yes.
You're like, oh, these guys are great. I just want to hang out with them. Yeah.
Yes. I dig everything about this movie. It's totally on my wavelength.
Yeah, it's the ensemble is up there with like Star Trek, like how everybody works so perfectly with each other. My one qualm with this movie, and it's for the entire Ocean's series, even the newest one, is the amount of money they're spending to pull off these heists is ridiculous.
More than they're making?
For how much money they're actually getting,
Possibly.
Yeah.
Could be.
But it's also fun because you're never ahead of them.
Yeah.
Like, you find out everything, you try and put it together the best you can, but once you see like how they pull everything off, you're like, oh, it's so obvious. I should have picked up on that. And it's so clever and fun.
Yeah, you get to experience it as it's happening, which is really brilliant. I
Yeah.
love that. So there you go. There's our top 5. So many honorable mentions. You just want to go back and forth?
Yeah, that'd be good. I'm gonna mark all yours off real quick.
Let's go back and forth, and I actually have mine in a little bit of an order. So I'll go down my list quality wise.
I'll say mine. I'll just say right now, mine is definitely not in order.
The one that almost made the list is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And the only reason it didn't is because it's still so close. I need to give it a little more time. But it definitely did want to mention it in honorable mentions. What do you got?
Babel.
Really?
I love Babel. I think Babel's.
I think we've had this conversation.
Have we?
I don't know. I mean, it feels very much like probably the Crash conversation. Which is kind of a similar movie in a lot of ways. The Spiderweb Effect movies, and I think you really dig that. I don't mind Spiderweb Effect movies if I'm buying into the characters in it and I'm buying into the relationship of the Spiderweb, and I don't do that in either Babel or Crash. I just can't buy in.
I think that's why I really like the Guy Ritchie movies. Like if you look at Snatch and Lock, Stock. Those are, Spiderweb / Butterfly Effect movies too. So I guess that's just something I'm really drawn to.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it. Fury.
I love Fury.
Is so good.
It's crazy good.
And I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Yeah.
What else you got?
The movie with the longest title in history.
That's my next one too.
The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Yeah.
This was my number 6.
Yeah, it's good.
That movie's great.
It's insanely good. This might be what I consider Brad Pitt's best performance.
Yeah.
It is so on the money, and Casey Affleck is just chewing up this movie.
Right.
Oh, and I love that the narration, which we didn't even talk about in Ad Astra, how Brad Pitt narrates. That didn't work for me at all. And there's narration in here. I can't remember the guy who does it. It sounds like Alec Baldwin, but it's not Alec Baldwin. But the narration is just so beautiful, and the cinematography in Assassination of Jesse James is up there with some of the best cinematography
It
I've
is
ever
a
seen.
great movie. It really is. My next one I'll mention is The Big Short,
Yep, I'll mark that one off.
which is kind of in his career. He kind of has gone through recently, just doing not cameos really, but playing small parts in movies that he's producing. And Big Short is kind of one of those. Although his part in Big Short is not tiny.
No, and he was not afraid to look old.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. You look at Brad Pitt in Big Short, which came out in 2013 or 14, something like that. And then you see him now in 2019 in Ad Astra, and he looks 20 years younger.
Or in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when he takes off his shirt.
Yeah.
And everybody in the theater faints.
Yeah, exactly. My next one is Burn After Reading. I mentioned it earlier.
On my list too.
It's one of the funniest Coen Brothers movies out there. It's so good.
I think it's solid tier Conan.
Yep.
Cohen, I should say, not Conan.
Conan
That's a
the
totally
Barbarian.
different. That's a totally different person.
Yeah.
12 Years a Slave is another one of those movies that he produced
Cameo.
and has a kind of a cameo part in.
Got his first Oscar for that movie.
Yeah.
World War Z.
Yep, definitely on my list.
I like that movie. It's
I'm excited to see that franchise grow. That'll be fun.
They canceled it.
Did they?
That was one of our Barry Treasures.
Is this my swap thing moment?
Yeah.
You're just breaking my heart right on screen.
No, that was a Buried Treasure just 5 months ago, I think. Yeah,
I knew something changed with it. I didn't realize they were just never doing
David
World War
Fincher
Z.
canceled the sequel.
Oh,
I know.
it makes me so sad.
Yeah. Potential wasted.
Legends of the Fall probably
Good
deserves mentioning.
Here's one that people are going to hate me for. Meet Joe Black.
Yeah, why?
I like that movie.
All right, fair enough. I don't have anything to say about it. So if you have something to say about it,
No, it's just that
you just enjoy it.
I enjoy that movie, and I understand why people don't like it.
All right, next on my list is I'm going to be honest. I don't remember him being in this movie, and maybe I got bad information from IMDb.
Okay.
Contact. The Jodie Foster movie where, speaking of space movies that are metaphors about parenting, when on IMDb it said he was in Contact. I don't remember that. But anyways, I love Contact, so I had to put it on my list if he is. But we can continue on.
No, now I got to...
You got to know?
Yeah, I got to know.
I don't know. Maybe I got bad information.
I don't see it in IMDb.
Good. Good. Forget it. Forget I even mentioned it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just on my brain because of Ad Astra.
Yeah, there you go. Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Boo.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that I don't.
You either love that movie or you hate that movie. There's no middle ground for it.
Yeah. River Runs Through It.
Great movie. Troy.
Man, we're gonna mention all of his movies because you keep mentioning these bad Brad Pitt movies that you
Troy
love.
is an amazing movie. I will stand by Troy.
Troy? Really?
Troy is a great movie.
Okay. I don't remember thinking that. In fairness, I haven't seen it since the one time when I didn't enjoy it.
Go back and watch it. You might be surprised.
Have to mention Deadpool 2.
Yeah, I'll take that one off. If you want to talk about the shortest cameo in the history of cameos.
Literally a split second.
Yeah.
If that.
And a movie that you were going to give me flack for again.
Really?
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
No, I've got it on mine.
I like that movie.
I like that movie too.
Yeah.
I think that movie is underrated.
Yeah. They're both so charming in that movie, him and Angelina Jolie.
Thelma and Louise, of course. Kind of where he kind of broke onto the screen.
Exactly.
Do you have any more?
You go ahead, man. You got the rest.
Megamind, I think, is worth mentioning.
I never saw it.
Interview with a Vampire, probably worth mentioning.
I wasn't a fan.
And a movie I wasn't a fan of, but probably worth mentioning, Tree of Life.
Oh, yeah, Terrence Malick is a weird bird.
I cannot get into a Malick movie. I can't think of a Malick movie that I like, which is weird. Because everybody, I mean, not everybody, but he's so well respected. I think it's the artistry thing that people love. But man, I cannot get into his movies. How you felt about Ad Astra is how I feel watching Terrence Malick movies. I'm just like, yeah, I see the beautiful stuff on the screen, but what is going on and why am I bored out of my skull?
Yeah.
That's kind of me watching Malick. So
Thin Red Line. I like Thin Red Line.
yeah, I didn't. But again,
I'm going through his whole thing here.
I get
and
it.
I'm like, no.
Let's move on to our buried treasure. What's that one thing in any area of pop culture, Andrew, that you want to let people know about?
I want to give props real quick to Phil because I was
Producer Phil?
to producer
He
Phil.
deserves all the props.
Yeah, because I sent him, or I forgot to send him an update for my buried treasure because I was like, no, because I think I talked about a movie recently, or not recently, but I already made it a buried treasure. So I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I need to fix it, and he fixed it for me right before the show started. So
Well, that producer Phil, he's on his game.
I'm gonna say something, Aaron.
Oh,
it's gonna
okay.
shock you.
Okay.
Right now, I am enjoying Marvel Comics more than DC Comics.
What?
I know.
What is going on?
I know.
What's happening? Is it the movie effect? Is it
No.
kind of just that those characters are more in the pop culture consciousness, and so you're enjoying their stories more?
No, I think that
Okay.
they're just better stories right now.
Wow,
I
interesting.
know. And the one I'm reading right now is Carnage Family Feud. It is phenomenal.
This is in like the Venom Spider-Man world.
Yes,
Okay.
it's the three main characters for the story arc are Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Carnage. And you have to kind of know some of the backstory going into this because it ties into another storyline that deals with Carnage in them. So Sentry, who is a Marvel character that a lot of people don't know about because he's not in the MCU, but very famous for comic book fans, sent Carnage into space with not Slade Wilson because that's DC. Cletus Cassidy, who is the body that
Right.
Carnage and
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, exactly, Woody Harrelson. So they're both up in space prison now, and somebody brings them back down to Earth to try and create symbiotic soldiers using Carnage, and it's up to Iron Man and Spider-Man to fight them off. And it's a series that I think is about 6 comics episodes in. And the art style is incredible. The story is fascinating. It's definitely one to pick up.
Interesting. It kind of makes it like a little even more sad that Sony and Marvel aren't working out their differences, right? Because you could do this although I guess in the MCU Iron Man's gone,
kinda
so
dead, yeah.
you'd have to do like a prequel of some sort. But
Yeah, but no, man, it's a great story. I'm
sorry, by the way,
enjoying it.
spoilers for anybody who hasn't gotten around to Endgame yet.
Yeah, we don't care about those people. Yeah.
He's wrong. We do care about you. We just think we can't believe that you haven't seen it yet.
There you go. What you got?
I got Righteous Gemstones. Finally got around to checking out the new HBO show about mega church pastors from Danny McBride.
Ooh, I haven't heard of this.
So Danny McBride, John Goodman, and Adam Devine are kind of the 3 main gemstone preachers. And it's about this family who has a mega church and kind of what's going on behind the scenes. And I don't want to give a lot away about the plot, but there is actually an undergirding plot to the season that I find fascinating. Danny McBride is really funny. And what's interesting, one of the interesting things about Danny McBride is somehow amongst all of, the 2019 tiptoeing around eggshells, Danny McBride just says whatever he wants. Like, I don't know.
I appreciate that.
No, it's kind of one of those things where for whatever reason, he just doesn't get called on it. There's some really fascinating things going on here in the content department. John Goodman is so good in this. He is the one character in this that feels authentic. And that might sound like a little bit of a slam on the show, and maybe in some ways it is. The Adam Devine character, the Danny McBride character feel like caricatures. They feel like a comedy. It feels like they're meant to make you laugh, be over the top, that kind of thing. Whereas John Goodman, I actually feel some pathos from that character. Like it feels like an authenticity to him as kind of the father of the crew. So
Now, sometimes with a show like that where you have characters that are playing on a caricature and then you have others that are being genuine, it kind of doesn't mesh well. How does that work for the show?
it seems to be working okay. It hasn't gotten in the way too much. Their sister, played by Eddie Patterson, it's either Eddie or Edie.
It's Edie.
Is it Edie Patterson?
I think so.
She's in kind of their same lane as just being kind of over the top. Walton Goggins is in this
Love
as
Walton
either an in-law. Yeah, I think he's the brother of John Goodman's past wife. Not past PAST, Passed, P-A-S-S-E-D. Yes, his wife.
Late
who is
wife.
his late. Thank you. I knew there had to be an English phrase for it. Yes, of John Goodman's late wife. It's her brother. His character is also very hilarious.
So it is a comedy then.
Oh, it's 100% a comedy.
Yeah.
Even John Goodman is really funny. There's just something more to his performance that the others don't have. And I think it's just because he's a phenomenal actor. And again, that sounds like I'm saying the others aren't. If they are, they're not putting that effort into
It's just
it here.
he's on a different level.
Yeah, I think that's right. Now, as somebody who finds my faith important to my life, there is a little bit of this that I kind of go like, I don't want people to think that all megachurch pastors are like this.
But you have to understand that there are
and there certainly is a positive in exploring the weird commercialism of mega churches and that kind of stuff in a comedic way where we can kind of pull that out and go, okay, what's up with this kind of thing? I find all that valuable. But this movie is so over the top. It would be similar, I think, to, maybe I shouldn't even say this. But I would say it would be similar to any other group of people who see themselves on screen as a caricature, right? And you go, okay, I get it. I get that we're doing something here, but at the same time, I also want the show that shows more of an authentic version of what a person can look like,
because
that kind of thing.
You're personally, it affects you personally.
I know these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I know these people, and it's kind of one of those things where I totally get what we're doing here. I'm laughing too. I think it's hilarious. And I'm not even offended. It's not a matter of being offended. It's just a matter of it is one area where the other part of it doesn't seem balanced out. The authentic people in my life, people of faith I see in my life,
yeah.
I don't necessarily see that show anywhere. And so it stands out a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally
I'm not
does.
trying to be, because again, this is a recommend. I think the show is really funny.
Yeah, it's in your buried treasure.
And it's again, it's HBO, so as mentioned, the content is definitely blue. But yeah, it's a good time. So that's Righteous Gemstones.
Sweet.
So there you go. We did it, man.
Yeah, we did. We talked about 2 awful movies today.
We went all the way to Neptune and came back with a podcast.
Yeah.
About a great movie called Ad Astra.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see this great movie.
Very nice. All right, thank you so much for joining us for SiftPop today. We appreciate you being here. Sorry, I totally lost my part on the... Take 2, Phil.
All right.
Thanks so much for joining us today for SiftPop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA, one word, in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for coming by, hanging out.
Oh, thank you.
Talking about movies he hates. It's
Yeah.
always, a bummer of a week, but maybe we'll find a good one in there. Go see Downton Abbey. Maybe you'll love Downton Abbey.
I got to see the show first.
Well, maybe. That's what we should talk about in our member post show. Actually, I should review Downton Abbey.
Okay.
As a Downton Abbey fan. Huge thanks to producer Phil for creating this amazing video show that you get to see on YouTube and also editing the audio show that you get to hear in your ears. Much love and gratitude to our SiftPop members for giving monthly to make SiftPop a real thing. Andrew's still laughing at the idea that you could hear anything anywhere other than your ears.
I am. That's because I'm a dumb kid.
Support starts at $3 a month, and you get access to every bonus episode as well as some other fun perks, including a monthly video hangout. Find out all the information at patreon.com/SiftPop. If you want to connect with us, feel free to comment, rate, throw some stars at us on Apple Podcasts. You can email us, feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like it too, so let them know about it, and that listening is much easier than caring for space baboons. We will be doing some spoilers for Ad Astra that should be showing up in your feed as well. And then next week, we'll be doing our 2019 TV Awards. And maybe also taking a look at The Laundromat from Netflix. So we'll catch you next week for that.
Bye.
Thank you, people on the YouTubes. We love you. Artist Project has our answer. Brad Pitt was in a 1992 short film called Contact.
So I guess technically he was in Contact.
He was in Contact. When did Contact the movie come out? Because that was
98.
right around that same time too.
I thought it was the next year.
Is it possible he was in the short film that the movie was based on? The movie came out in 97.
97, yeah.
Yeah. So that would have been like 5 years later. Fascinating. Well, thank you for looking that up, Artist Project. Appreciate that.
He solved the mystery.
Yeah, we got our fact checkers live online with us. Let's see. Danny says, hey, I'm a late arrival. Andrew hated Ad Astra, but what did Aaron rate it? Any help? Danny, if you're still sticking around, I loved it. Probably around an A-. I'm guessing based on Andrew's review, he'd give it around a D+.
D+.
D+, something like that. So there you go. All right, we're going to move on to the spoilers now. So we're going to say goodbye to you and then create a new video for the spoiler section. And we'll see you there.